So this is probably the best sequence from Sohan on the night, turning defense to offense. First, you got to love the defensive instincts to leave his man at the free throw line and commit to the play, what's happening right in front of him. So he commits to the double team and actually causes Franz Wagner to turn over the ball, puts him in a bad spot. Franz is leaving his feet, making this pass, which is an absolute no-no. And Sohan does just enough to disrupt this play. And the ball falls right into the hands of the right guy, Tre Jones, to ignite this fast break. Immediately, you see a couple of guys sprint down the floor and push numbers. Vassell, Wimby, Sohan sprinting the floor. Sohan, Wimby running straight to the rim. Tre Jones makes the right read to advance the ball up to Vassell, who has sprinted out to the three-point line on the left wing. He's got two options running down the floor. Sohan gets down the floor first and gets rewarded and finishes this transition break in style with a reverse catch and a throwdown, and with a flying by Jalen Suggs contest. You gotta love the bench reaction here, showing great continuity and genuine love for one another. Very excited for Sohan on this play. It was early on in the game. It was a great way to start this matchup off right. So let's get into the numbers and the bright spots from Sohan. So I think it's important for us to context Jeremy Sochan's last 5 games, mostly because this season has been a roller coaster. It's been a true second season in the NBA for Jeremy Sochan. After watching Paolo Banchero's interview with JJ Redick the other day, and there was a clip out that had Paolo Banchero emphasizing his awareness of this second season and the progression that it takes for a young star player, a young lottery pick, anyone who's trying to really grow off their first season, and that is that it's really on them to get better. Most teams now have a rookie scouting report on your strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to the player to really improve off of those things and get better, or else it might just be a stunt in their development in the career of a young NBA player. The ones who can't get better in year 2 usually don't get better in year 3. So we start off this season, I think we should go maybe even further back to the beginning, kind of wrapping this up into understanding that the Spurs understand this concept. They doubled down on this concept by putting him even out of position to grow. In those first 20 plus games or so, he was at the point guard spot. Most people saw this as an idiotic thing to do, but some understood that he cannot be just an enforcer, a bruiser, and a finisher at the rim his whole career, right? In this league, that's not going to work out. So the Spurs really prioritized development. Although, he has yet to reach 10 plus assist nights this season. He has flirted with it a few times with a couple 9 assist games, a couple of 8 assist games. And there's a real noticeable eye test here to see with Sohan, and the comfortability in his passing skill and his IQ has gone up tremendously. He still makes mistakes, but now I feel like he has that confidence to get the ball, push the break, first 2 dribbles, eyes up, serving the floor and making correct reads, right? And sometimes he's going to turn the ball over. That's always going to be the case when someone has the ball in their hands a lot. And now that he's even back to his normal position, you can see that he's still doing a lot of those things that he picked up earlier on in the year. He's able to make better reads. He's able to make better post-entry passes to Wimby on occasion, whereas his decision-making and his ball security off the dribble still is a work in progress. There's still a lot of improvement there if you're considering. So I'll digress really quick to get back to these past 5 games before we get into the matchup from the other night against Orlando. These past 5 games have shown us the highs and the lows of this season from Jeremy. And if you disregard the one game earlier on in October where he did not score at all with the goose egg on the Clippers, Sohan has had 3 different nights where he only scores 2 points. There was 2 or 3 of those. There's 3 of those, and 2 of them have come in the last 5 games. However, in these last 5 games, you also get his season high of 30 points plus, right, against the Blazers the other night. This has been an up and down week for Jeremy Sohan. He has struggled nonetheless, but he's still there, bringing it game in, game out. That's why you get those really bad nights. And you also find his career high in the past 5 games. Or season high in the past 5 games. Might be his career high. I don't know. And then you also have this night, right, in the past 5 games. So finally on this night, he showed up. He showed up on a night where we really needed him. He had his second double-double of the year, finishing with 18 points, 12 rebounds, leading the team in rebounds, leading the team in plus minus, leading the team in turnovers. He was second in blocks, and he took the third most shots on the night. And this performance showed plenty of how much the Spurs need Sochan on a night without players like Zach Collins to grab rebounds and Keldon Johnson to put up shots and grab rebounds and try to make things happen. It really kind of highlighted how versatile Sochan is, but ultimately his greatest strengths come on the defensive end. I think everyone here understands that, and the offensive end is a work in progress. So let's go over some of the sticking points from his defensive assignments from the night and his efforts on those assignments, and let's see how all that played out. First off, we need to look at the rebounding. Again, Zach Collins was out. He's been out for a little while now. No Keldon Johnson either to help snag some rebounds. So Jeremy Sochan had the assignment to go and crash the boards, and he did that. He led the team in rebounds with 12 rebounds, 8 defensive rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds. He also was second in blocks, only behind Victor Wembanyama. If he ever, gets more blocks than Victor, I think that's a sign that Victor kind of took it easy on the defensive end that night. But he did finish with 2 blocks. Victor had 5. One of those blocks was on Banchero on a nice one-on-one matchup. And we're going to talk about these matchups here in a second. The other was guarding Markel Fultz, one of the few times that he was matched up on a smaller player. He did get the best of Markel on that possession. And so primarily on the night, Sochan was matched up with Banchero and Franz Wagner throughout the night. Primarily Franz Wagner. And let's break down these two matchups and kind of how he did. In Banchero, and particularly when I was going through the film, there were 4 possessions where Banchero and Sochan went at it. 2 of those possessions, Banchero scored, and then 2 of them ended up with Sochan getting the stop. So there was about 2 for 4 on Banchero. And versus Wagner, he was really only on him one-on-one for 3 possessions and ended up getting scored on twice and then getting 1 stop on the play that we saw earlier. So something to notice here is that, the Spurs had the tall assignment for Jeremy Sochan this night. He really did draw the matchup of guarding Franz first. I think that's who the Spurs would like him to be matched on. But what Orlando did very, very well is you can see that he didn't guard either of these 2 guys a lot. And I think the Magic were doing a great job of getting him off ball. And so that kind of leads to the question for the Spurs, like, hey, moving forward, how can we utilize our strategy on defense to keep Jeremy on ball as long as we can? Because I think the other team is getting smart enough to know that, hey, when he's on ball, he's a problem, he's tough, he's a menace, he doesn't make it easy. So, for instance, whenever Franz Wagner had the ball, here came the screen, and we're trying to switch off and get something. They're trying to get someone else on ball. So, maybe less switching and trying to keep the action there. But ultimately, he did okay guarding these guys as well as can be. Banchero is an all-star this year, as we found out. And, he's just bringing those intangible defensive efforts. The communication is there. The hustle is there. And he had a big assignment tonight on both ends of the floor. And on the defensive side, it was trying to contain Franz and trying to contain Paolo. So very hard to do, and Orlando schematically did a really good job of getting him out of the picture. Now let's talk about the offensive side. The offensive side of the ball, Sochan was all over the offensive boards. He led the team with 4 offensive rebounds, again, 12 in total. Really did give the Spurs a couple of second options at, a possession. And, most of the time, he's kicking out to somebody off that offensive rebound, which is the best place to find an open shot. So he was really getting after it in the field goals. He was 8 for 13 from the field, 61%. That's not too bad at all. 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. Again, he's not shooting it all that well at this point in the season. I think he looked a little bit more confident earlier on in the season, but this is the dog days of the NBA. January, February, these are the hard times. This is where the wall really hits you. This is where fatigue really hits you. This is where your routines come into play really importantly into your performance, how they have a direct correlation with your performance. And I think, we're starting to see that from some of these guys. Only took 1 free throw on the night, knocked it down, 2 assists, nothing fancy. I think 1 or 2 of those came off of, again, an offensive rebound where he just found an open shooter. and they knocked it down. 5 turnovers though, and that's something that we're going to have to live with. And something that I talked about a little bit earlier is that when he puts the ball on the floor to drive sometimes into traffic, the decision making there can be improved on a little bit. Not being so robotic with his head down when he puts the ball on the floor, and really trying to be under control, which I find his big improvement in his offensive game is being under control in the paint and trying to make a move in the paint. Uh, Around the defender with his pivoting and things like that. As we've seen over the past few games, he's had a lot of really big time shots in the paint, and so that's a big improvement on the offensive end. Finished with 18 points. Uh, he had a 1 as a plus minus, which was the highest on the team from the night.